How you doing?
Do you have a pretty good response rate?
Yeah, in general, there seem to be interests. There's some like Cal
Yeah.
Poly students. School hasn't started yet, but some of them are interested.
Mhm.
I'm guessing we might get a couple on Zoom, and we already have 6 attendees here in person.
Okay. And are you CAP like do like a California and like regional group like activities?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a whole structure. So there's like our wing is the state, and there's our group, which is like Central Coast, and then there's like 5 different squadrons.
Okay. Yeah, but it's probably out of your district. I was just earlier talking to a guy. He's in Reno, but he's been active in CAP.
Okay. Yeah, that's a different wing, but sometimes we get together, but mostly we stay within our states. All right, let's see here. Yeah, how's it going, man? Yeah, hopefully all the technology will work. Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah.
And you get current year by one to it. Lots of hours.
There we go. Okay. Okay, can everybody online hear me? So we're going to start. Let's see, David or Andrew online, can you hear me?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool, thank you. All right, so for those of you in the room, we have a couple of people online, one presenter and then a participant as well, okay? And for those online, you might be able to see in this camera over here some of our attendees. Hey, come on, Aziz. All right, let's get started. Let me pull up position. Okay, so again, I'm Glenn Johnson. I'm a pilot here at Paso Robles. I'll be the facilitator tonight. I'm also representing one of the 4 presenters, Civil Air Patrol. We'll be talking on that organization. So thanks for attending this unique opportunity we're having. Why are we doing this? We're doing this because we put a poll on the Facebook page for the Paso pilots, and this was one of the most popular topics people were interested in, learning more about volunteer organizations, how to tell the difference, I guess, and what it's like to fly for them, advantages, disadvantages. So that's why we're here. As you can see by the 4 organizations at the top that are speaking tonight, you know, it's kind of we're trying to give you a cross section of volunteer organizations. We could make this an annual event in which we do different organizations every year. For example, I'm kind of curious about the SLO County Sheriff's Aero Squadron. There's an organization called Lighthawk that does environmental aerial surveys. And Pilots and Pause is another one that we could bring in. So if you guys have any requests for like next year, which organization you might want to hear about, just let me know. or if you're part of one of those organizations and you'd love to spread the word, let me know. A couple of housekeeping things, exits in case we need to evacuate, downstairs and then out either double doors, out either side, or there's a staircase over there. And then bathrooms, there's bathrooms at the end of the hall as well as downstairs. I apologize in advance for the sunset is going to come in the window and blind you guys any minute here for like 20 minutes. So I apologize in advance. And like I mentioned, there's sign-up sheets and handouts on the table. So this is our agenda for the night. I'm going to do a quick background overview. Then we have our 4 presenters who I'll introduce in a minute. And then I have an announcement to make about the Paso Robles Pilots Association. And then we'll adjourn for the evening. So we're going to try to keep all this under an hour. It could go slightly over an hour. I would encourage you to stay for the announcement at the end. All right, so now I'm going to give you a little bit of context to nonprofit flying organizations. So why fly for a nonprofit? It seems like it could be a good way to give back to the community, be part of a sense of community. It could be a way to build time if you're trying to do that. Justify your plane, maybe to your spouse, meet other pilots, etc. I thought we should talk about costs. So just a reminder that in the FARs, right, 14 CFR Part 61, it talks about what you can be reimbursed for as a private pilot. Now, if you're a commercial pilot, maybe a different set of rules here, but if you're a private pilot, you cannot be hired or compensated essentially unless you're one of these conditions, right? Prorated share of operating expenses. I think we're all familiar with that, flying with families and friends. If you're doing fundraising for a 501c3 charity, right, charitable nonprofit, as long as that charity promotes aviation safety, then you're eligible for some reimbursements. FAA also allows non-charity community events. You can only do a certain number per year, and you have to submit to the FSO in advance of the event. Search and rescue, search and location, as it's called in the FARs. And even if you don't qualify for reimbursement, any of your expenses could be tax deductible if you do deductions, right?
Actually has a waiver that gets renewed every 5 years.
Oh, that makes them to do that.
Basically, fly for patrol without having to pay, because you're getting compensated in terms of time, basically.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you. There's tons of organizations nationwide that you can fly for. This is a directory of them. It's called the Air Care Alliance. You can just Google that. You can look by region and the type of charity or nonprofit you're interested in. And then lastly, along the safety side, AOPA has a course about public benefit flying. It talks about risk management, aeronautical decision-making, things like that, like reminders, good reminders about that you're not like a superhero now that you're flying for a nonprofit. You don't get like police powers or something, right? It's about staying safe and things like that. So any questions at a high level before we get started with our presentation? Okay. So I'll introduce our speakers today. Excuse me. So first is going to be Angel Flight West. David Nathan's online. I don't know if I can bring up your photo, David, but you want to say hi?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. And thank you, Glenn, for organizing and, inviting us to tag along. So yeah, thanks so much. If you are having trouble pulling it up, I can also try sharing my screen, if that's an option.
I think it'll be okay. Yeah, let me just get to the other introductions. Could you guys hear that in the back of the room, or do I need to move the speaker? You guys can hear it. Let's see. Is Joe here yet? Joe, okay. Hey, Joe. Nice to meet you. So we're just doing introductions. So Joe Natal here is going to speak about the Flying Samaritans. And then we were lucky to have Luis Mateos from CalDART, Disaster Airlift Relief Team. She flew in the plane over there from the Bay Area. So thanks for being here, Luis. Um, that's pretty nice. And then I'm Glenn Johnson. I'll be speaking about Civil Air Patrol. I might also, Luis, feel free to jump in because Luis is also in Civil Air Patrol, right? She's in leadership, Civil Air Patrol in the Bay Area, and is also even in Angel Flight, right? So,
Yeah. And something called Amelia Air.
oh, Amelia, okay. Cool. So I grouped these by categories. I don't know if they fully apply, but you got kind of medical care access, and then what I'm calling disaster relief, more or less. At least 3 of these 4 organizations have a presence on the field, so you're able to talk to other pilots if you're interested. Just a last note would be each presenter would love to hear your questions at the end of the presentation, right? So you have 4 opportunities to ask questions tonight. And then if they are, want to have dialogue during, you're welcome as well. So without further ado, I guess we'll start with you, David, from Angel Flight. So just let me know if you want me to change slides, I guess.
Okay, thanks. Are the slides up and visible?
Let's see. Oh, maybe I stopped. Hold on. It's my fault. Oh. Here we go. Momentarily.
Okay. So again, yeah, I'm David. I'm a volunteer services coordinator, and I help the new members get on and help them out with other various issues. So keep everything kind of short and sweet for everyone. Their mission statements there. Most people have heard of Angel Flight, and they have like a general idea. There's actually different regions all over the United States. It's under the Air Care Alliance, like Glenn mentioned. We are Angel Flight West, and we handle the Western 12 states. So our main goal and mission is to connect volunteer pilots with passengers needing medical attention and, for one reason or another, are unable to get to medical needs farther away from them. So we've served about 2,000 passengers every year. Yeah, and then we just had our 100,000th mission last year, so we're really proud of that. We have about 6 million in-kind donations each year, and that is basically we calculate the flight time and how much value that is. And it all is at 0 cost to the passengers. And that's all thanks to all of our generous volunteers, and we have about 18,000 pilots. So next, please. So you can see the map there. Each state is a wing, and then California is so big, we split it up into 2 wings. And yeah, our primary mission is to help people get to medical care. And that's every kind of medical care. I'd say the majority of our passengers are, dealing with typically like a cancer situation. We also do camps. Our biggest camp is called Champ Camp, and that's for children who are burn victims, and they get to go meet other children going through the same situations as them. And that takes place every year in Fresno. So if pilots in the area are interested, that'd be a really good kind of intro activity for volunteer pilots. Some of the other things we handle are transportation, relocation for domestic violence victims. We do coordinate with other organizations to do drills for some dog missions, and then every once in a while, unique cases we'll consider. Next, please.
You okay?
Okay, sorry about that. Am I good?
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay, so this is a chart of all of our pilots. Most of the images you see out there, we pick big pretty planes, and people are concerned that their plane isn't big or pretty enough. But the majority of our aircraft are you'd see Cessna 182s, Cirrus, Piper, Beechcraft, Bonanza, and then on the right you can see all the different aircraft. So from the volunteers, there's over 100 different types of aircraft. So it kind of represents just GA in general. We have a little bit of everything. Next, please. A big thing with us is, we always want to reiterate safety first. So we are non-emergency medical. So we require at least a week's notice. And a lot of the missions are on there, months in advance. So there's no obligation to, fly, there's no pressure. If there's any kind of, weather issue, mechanical, you're not feeling well, we strongly encourage people to cancel. We always have a backup, and we have partners with airlines and some funding to book backup airlines and other forms of transportation. Next, please. Okay.
Still there, David?
Do you have me? Yeah, I'm here now. Am I good? All right, thanks. Thanks for everyone's patience. So our bare minimums, we need at least 250 hours of PIC. And that's kind of the hiccup for some of the early pilots. If you have a commercial license and 200 hours, that works. And then of course we need you to be current and insured 18 plus. What are the benefits? It really makes that $100 hamburger taste a lot better when you're helping someone. I mean, a lot of people can't get a buddy or a spouse to go flying with them. You meet some great people and really touch lives. A lot of pilots end up developing relationships and stay in touch with some of the people they, as mentioned, we can't compensation, but all of the flight time, including the round trip and then any other expenses, are all considered charitable donations. And then there's that tax incentive for that donation. Also, with the orientation, we have basically an online video, and we do and once you complete that, you can get wings credit.
You're cutting out again, David. I can even see you talking.
All right, I'll just keep it short and sweet. What you can do now is go to a website, angelflightwest.org, and sign up to fly. You can also go there and donate if you want to donate $5, $10, anything. And our backup flights, we do have a partnership with Alaska Airlines. So if you or anyone has miles that they don't use, they can go to Alaska Airlines and go to the donate page and donate their miles to help people get to medical treatment. And the last thing is, please just spread the word. We're just trying to get the name out there. Even, if you know someone who is going through a hard time who might benefit from our services, please let them know to reach out to us. And the final slide is just the contact information. Check us out on social media. There's some really heartwarming, touching stories, some happy news, some good stories there. and all the contact info. So if there's any questions, I can hopefully take a quick question if the internet works for me. But thanks, everyone.
Yeah, one comment I have is there's also a mission assistant role. You don't have to be a pilot or
Mhm.
you're a pilot that doesn't have the minimums. You can still sign up as a mission assistant and sit right seat and help the command pilot on their flight. So you get to go on the flight and hang out with the pilot.
Mhm.
My husband's not a pilot. He comes with me and does the missions.
You hear that, David?
Depends on the.
Oh. Yes. So definitely encourage mission assistance as well. It does not, you know, you can't, it's not set up for like building time, but it does help the pilot, you know, interact with the passengers so they can focus on flying. And there is you know, you can split the cost with the mission assistance. That's another benefit there where you can, you know, make it easier on both.
The question was, is a two-seater aircraft useful?
Are some limited missions, you know, it depends on your, you know, useful load. Typically, a lot of the passengers will bring one companion, so that would kind of eliminate those options. But you know, do have some dog missions, blood flights, will work with disaster relief drills, opportunities, but that got the missions.
Yeah, I did one just last week, and I had a single passenger and she was rather lightweight, so probably would have done fine in like a 152 or something. An RV2.
So our experimental airplanes okay?
Did you hear that?
Was it about
If
RVs experimental?
Yes.
So it has come up, you know, every year they review it, and currently we can't use experimental for passengers. The big issue right now is the FAA doesn't allow them for other charitable flights. So then, you know, the concern is the, you know, public perception on that. But with experimental, you can still do dog missions, blood missions, you know, transplants, and other just non-passenger. So you can still be a command pilot and be part of the organization. There's just some limited opportunities to volunteer.
I did a dog mission once too. That was interesting. We went and picked up a 2-year-old rescue and flew him to the Search Dog Foundation school in Santa Paula. And so dog was great. He just slept the whole time.
Yeah, and they're a big, they're a partner of ours. So anytime the Search Dog Foundation needs transportation, we work with them to get the dogs there, and check them out too. They do really great work.
Any other questions for David?
Is it only for transport medical services, or you would say take like sick children out for the cheer flying?
So my understanding, did you hear that, David?
I didn't catch the. Was he
It's like
asking?
it's like Young Eagles type of flight for sick children.
We
It's
don't.
transport.
Yeah, we don't do those, but we have in the summertime a big grouping of camp flights. So it is transportation to and from, but not like the Young Eagles. That's all them. We don't do those type of flights.
But I had one where I took a passenger and she brought her son with her as her companion, and he wanted to sit in front and he wanted to drive the plane. I said, okay, you can drive the plane. And he did it for a few minutes and says, okay, you can drive the plane. He had a good time. Yeah. I think it was 8.
Let's take a bunch of dogs from a disaster zone or something like that, shelter. Is that you guys or is that another organization?
Rescuing dogs like from a disaster? So I don't know that Angel Flight does a lot of dog rescues in that it's more transport to go to like the school, you know. But Pilots and Paws certainly does a lot of dog rescues. Yeah, Pilots and Paws does. And there's another organization called Amelia Air that also does some as well. It's a smaller outfit.
Last questions for David? Thank you, David. Everybody says thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming. All right, next. We have a gentleman who's going to speak about the Flying Samaritans, who's in the organization, Joe Nuttall. So I have just a little graphic here for you, Joe, and then you can talk to, if you want, I can pull up your Facebook.
Yeah.
Either you speak up here or there, wherever you want. Okay.
I'm an analog kind of guy, so you're out of luck with that stuff. Hard stuff. Brochures talks about what we do. We go to Mexico. So plain and simple, if you're not going to take your Mexico, take a little nap. A lot of people kind of just back off. And no matter what I say, and Dave will probably agree with me, they're terrified that, you know, as soon as they land, somebody's going to run up with a gun and grab their airplane. We've never had any trouble. So the airstrip we land at is like what, 4,000 square feet? No, 4,000 feet, sorry. Yeah, long day. It's paved, it's asphalt, I think. I remember. Concrete, yeah, it's concrete. Geez, what else? Lydia up there. Planes are safe. It's in a secure area. It's gated and guarded. So planes are extremely safe down there. We go down on Friday, come back on Sunday. We do not take patients. We take doctors, nurses, translators, medical personnel, and it's all voluntary on their part. I'm trying to think of what else. You have to speak up, sorry.
Oh, take equipment or baggage or you take like stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of the medical staff are active in curing expired equipment, hospitals and whatnot. That's perfectly good to use, but in the US has the expiration stamps. So yes, we'll take that.
Yeah, we've had a couple of driving trips too to take stuff down that's too heavy for an airplane. So we have different chapters. The local one, we always go to the same one because we support the hospital down there in San Quintin. San Quintin,
The town's called San Quintin. It's driving about an hour and a half south of Ensenada.
about 155. You're asking about which hospital or?
So about a 20 to 30 minute flight, depending on what you're flying southwest.
I don't know, as far as an experimental goes, I think it has more of a problem with Mexico. We don't, like I say, since we take volunteer medical people, they're pretty much, you know, obviously we're going to tell them you're an experimental, but most of them are pretty adventurous. They probably do things that would spook me a little bit. I think
experimental guys.
No, I'm talking about the volunteers. Some of them are pretty into like they'll go all over. They tend to be pretty, pretty adventurous, I guess is the best way to put it, for the most part. So there are a lot of them. Sometimes they're new to small airplanes, but you wanted to say,
Some of the restaurants would be.
yeah, I see and all that. Yeah, there's all, yeah. As far as the pilots go, we actually, other than our serious part is obviously flying down there and flying back, keeping weather, making sure it's a whole totally safe trip. Other than that, about all we do is chase around a little bit, we'll run some errands.
Work on vehicles.
Yeah, we work on vehicles a little bit. Not too much. I mean, it's kind of pretty much a relaxing time. The medical people are the ones that are doing all the work. So it can be, I don't know whether they have other slides or whatever, but,
You were saying, there's multiple, chapters. So Flying Samaritans basically covers the Southwest. We have chapters, Colorado, Arizona, and California. Our chapter is the only one that provides surgical services. All the other chapters are doing some sort of clinical eyes or general family medicine or something like that. So we're the only one that will actually do surgical stuff. And that's hey, that was good looking. It depends. There's a map. We used to go across Tijuana and fly direct Ensenada. Ensenada sometimes can be problematic. It's also a military airfield. And sometimes we don't get the level of service if the military side is busy as far as getting fuel and getting through customs and stuff. And they don't take credit cards. So you've got to take cash, they prefer pesos, like for gas and stuff. I've been going through Mexicali mostly. It has a little bit of time, but it's easy in and out. Everything's credit cards, so yeah. There's no room for fudging, and maybe, dig at the gringos a little extra money where you might find that cash. Some pilots go through San Felipe. So those would be the three major ports of entry.
You guys fly in caravan down here or so?
Just usually not, because we have some members that fly out of like Camarillo and different flights. I mean, my little Cherokee's never going to keep up with Dave or some of the Bonanzas. So you pretty much go down on your own as far as one thing we do. We have we have kind of a best practices manual and procedures for some things, and we have a duty officer, someone that is here in the States who is keeping their phone with them. So if something comes up, you give them a call, they can take care of stuff. Or if you've got family or somebody here that trying to get a hold of you, not quite as necessary as it used to be, because cell phones work pretty good down there now, but still doesn't, it's helpful. And then we ask that when you depart, you text the duty officer so they know you're in the air. And except for one member, I think everybody is pretty much trackable, like on FlightAware. And I usually do that. But once you get south of Ensenada, you usually get kind of dropped. So we ask that when you take off and when you land, you text the duty officer so that they know, and they don't have to be calling somebody down there, hey, did they show up? And then the same thing on Sunday. What is it about? I think it's about 3 to Ensenada, and then 30 minutes or so down to San Quintin. Depends on, a lot.
Just over 2 hours. The Mexican area, it's not a. It's. Then the hospital will be also.
There's a map up that shows different things. We're in. And then there's, they have a few driving clinics that I've never had anything to do with. The flying, most, except for us, the clinics are pretty much a primary care kind of thing. Mother load comes down where we do. Thanks to them, is that why we get to land at the good airport? And they actually have their clinic at the airport. There's, I think you can see some of the there's pictures in here on the, showing their different clinic and stuff.
I believe those, the other handouts.
Sure, yeah, you get all that.
The
Everybody.
handouts over here.
Yeah.
Well, your level of measure. As far as accommodations down there, we typically stay at a hotel on the beach, and it's nice. It's got a nice restaurant, and there's also several other restaurants in the area community that we go to. We have picked up. It's changed so much.
Everything from 1 to 8 to 10, or just depends on who volunteers. Not, I mean, we really need pilots and planes right now.
And clinics.
And some, and medical people. I mean, the clinics are more trying to get medical people.
COVID hit us pretty hard. We lost a lot of folks just because. And we've had a couple surgeons retire. We've gone from 10, 11 clinics a year, and we're down to 2 right now, not counting our call rep.
Yeah.
So the hope is, I assume, to build that up, but
We have, we used to have 6 different clinics that we did twice a year. Each would do twice a year. Had urology, general surgery, orthopedic.
ortho,
Yeah, there was
ENT.
ENT. Urology used to be really big. ENT was big because kids, all lined up for their tonsils. So, and those are, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and it's really good. I mean, it's a lot of good flying too. Kind of a little bit now with GPS, it's not quite as clock and clock and compass kind of a thing that used to be some. I mean,
Flying's easy, customs into Mexico, out of Mexico and back into the States. You just have to learn it. Once you get it, it's not too. Sometimes that stuff evolves a little bit over the years. Mexico, since I've been down in the last institute, where you have to notify ahead of time that you're coming in, get permission and whatnot. And I haven't experienced that yet.
I haven't had any trouble. Yeah, we went down. We didn't have any trouble. I mean, everything was pretty straightforward and easy. It's kind of, the website has a whole. There's a whole part of the website that's set up for doing your customs, and you don't have to be going with the Flying Sams to use. I mean, you could be going down there on vacation and you can still use it for customs and that type of thing. So, oh yeah. Yeah, how about that, huh? You can go fishing. As far as aircraft requirements, we require insurance, obviously, 1 million. We ask for Mexican insurance as well. Some years ago, Mexico will accept American policies, but it's $100 a year to get a Mexican policy. So we kind of ask you to do that. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I mean, for me, it's kind of, why would I take my plane? For $100? Yes, it's just
American policies won't accept Mexico.
yeah. That could be too. I know.
Mine doesn't have to do.
Yeah,
And
but
we've also got a letter from the commandant in charge of all that in Spanish, in English. I think we have it. It just states that U.S. insurance will be honored. Again, if you're
Like I said,
underwriter.
for $100, it's kind of,
Yeah, that's.
you know, I mean, and generally speaking, if you go once, you'll want to keep going. It's kind of that's my experience. It says your airplane has to be certificated for IMC flight. That's not true. We don't necessarily require that. Obviously, if it's potential for IFR, yeah, you're not going to go. And then, yeah, we do require an annual, of course, current airplane, current pilot, pretty much the same. I mean, if you're legal to fly, then you're fine. That's what it comes down to. You know?
We have a minimum PIC also, I think it's 250 hours also.
You know,
I know it's at least
the
two.
website says 250 hours, I think. But I don't know that there is a real minimum. I think below that, it's kind of like we'll find somebody that's a pilot, one of our members that just says, hey, I'll go down there with you. So if you have an airplane that's like that and you want to go down, even though you may not have enough hours, I'm sure that we can find someone that'll go down with you. So
Go through the vetting process. So usually our pilot coordinator, designee, maybe the captain president or whatever, will go through a vetting process with that pilot. Do some stick time, review log books and that type of stuff.
any other questions? I can't. I'm sorry. There's pictures on here of the airstrip and stuff on this one. If you want to grab?
Website's also going to have information on all the
Yeah.
strips that are used by the SAMs.
There was more of these.
All right. Any last questions about the Flying Samaritans?
Eat well.
Beverages probably.
And the beer is cold.
Yeah. Street talk.
Great. Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Dave. Okay. Next is Luis Mateos.
Let's see if I
for
can
CalDART.
share.
It's not sharing.
All right. So I'm Luis Mateos, a pilot, flying out of Palo Alto at the moment. Although I'm up to 9 airports in California. Just a thing. I started flying 35 years ago, and actually did my check ride 2 days after the Loma Prieta earthquake. For that, October 17th, a day that will live in infamy. And that disaster was kind of the inspiration for CalDART. And there's a whole video about it. Are you going to pass out the slides that you did, everyone?
Not all the
If
slides.
anybody wants
Might
them.
be available
But
afterwards.
anyways, you can also Google it online. I'm not going to play the videos because it's getting late and I don't want to take all your time. But that was the inspiration for CalDART. After the Loma Prieta earthquake, the town of Watsonville, which has an airport, was cut off. All of the surface roads, the highways, one was a bridge that was out, and then the other two highways were blocked by landslides. And so nobody could drive in or out, but you have an airport. And so a bunch of pilots, primarily at Reed Hillview, but other Bay Area airports, just got together and said, hey, we want to help out. Let's get cases of water. Let's get, diapers and whatever else people might need and fly them to Watsonville. And so they were doing that for a few days until the feds came in with FEMA. And then of course they cleared the roads. But so that was the inspiration for CalDART. And about 10 years after that, the organization was formed as a nonprofit in the state of California. And the way we're organized, let's see, go up here. This is just some examples. We were also instrumental in the snow apocalypse of last year it was January, February of last year. The folks in the mountain towns in San Bernardino County were cut off for like 3 weeks because the snow was like 8 feet high and they didn't have snow plows, so they couldn't go anywhere. And one of our members found out about it and coordinated several folks who had helicopters to come and airlift supplies and medical supplies and food and stuff from the San Bernardino airport up into the mountains. I think they used a parking lot at a grocery store that had its roof collapse as one of the landing zones, and a hospital, I think, was one of the other ones. But so there's videos on that. We also, during COVID, we were doing some airlifts. In this case, the PPE to a tribe on the north coast, and also ventilators and medical shields, transports. We did a airlift up to Oregon, and we were loosely associated with a similar organizations in Oregon and Washington on the West Coast. Actually flew on that one. We brought a bunch of, just basically stuck your plane with these cases of whatever fits, and brought them up there to Oregon for there was a lot of fires that year. It was pretty bad. So there's a video on that. But anyway, so we are trying to organize people who have planes or access to planes or just want to help out on the ground to support, to be activated and support in the event of a disaster. And it could be the disaster is in your local community and you need people to come from outside to come in and help, or it's another community and you're available and you can go and help them, and it could be bringing supplies in or bringing people out or bringing disaster response personnel from different organizations into that area that need help. So DART is considered a BOAD. I've heard that term before. Volunteer Organization Active in Disaster. It's an umbrella term for all these nonprofit organizations that want to help out in disasters. We specifically are focused on air transport of supplies and people. But there's other VOADs that might be, setting up food distribution points or helping provide shelter, or so there's different VOADs within any particular county or within the state that do that. So we're one of those, and so we would be working with our local emergency operations center, which then works with the state EOC to find out about and offer our services in the event of a disaster. We currently have CalDART teams, I guess you could call them, based at different airports around the state. I'm with Palo Alto DART, but I'm also with the state organization. I'm helping to administer that. It says we have 12. I think we just got a new one at High Mountain Lake. We don't have one here at Paso Robles yet, but if there's people interested and someone wants to take the lead, it's not very difficult. Basically, you say, okay, we want to have one here. I'm going to start a list of pilots here. We join the organization and we set up a little exercise. We're going to take some supplies from one airport to another, or we're going to, what we've done at some airports, like at Grass Valley or at the end of the month, they're doing this. They're going to take some of their local EOC folks up on tours of the county so they can see what the Nevada County terrain looks like from the air. I've done this in Palo Alto, East Palo Alto. I took the mayor of Palo Alto and East Palo Alto up on a flight around the city. So I, talked about, okay, in the event of a disaster, this is what it might look like. And Palo Alto actually goes up into the hills, so you could have landslides or you could people cut off because of that. So anyways, there's the video on that. we can help also with medical air transport, but this would be more in the event of a disaster. So, but it wouldn't be like an ambulance. It's more like, okay, they're ambulatory. We can help evacuate people. Also, you know, some of the pilots might be experienced in observation from the air and can help, you know, provide information to the emergency operations center folks, what they're seeing. Again, we also have the capability of setting up landing zones. We just did this in Gilroy a couple months ago. We set up a landing zone at a high school and brought in a helicopter, and then, you know, worked with the school district and the local Gilroy folks there on how to do that, so that if they needed to bring in a helicopter to bring in supplies or to evacuate people. And it was kind of interesting because just a few months earlier, that particular area had been cut off by some flooding. So, let's see. Food, of course. So how do you participate? You know, find someone, like I said, find someone at your airport here who's going to raise their hand and say, yeah, I'll take the lead. Assistants are great. You do need to become CalDART members. We're a nonprofit, but there's some rules that we have to follow. And you want to practice, you know, practice doing this, have your initial exercise, and then once a year, either have, well, once every other year at a minimum, but every year is a good idea to get together and practice. Doesn't have to be just at this airport. You could do it with another DART. Like, you know, if you want to work with us at Palo Alto, we could have some flights going to Palo Alto or some flights from Palo Alto coming here. Invite other people to participate. So what we did was last year, we had a statewide DART exercise. So we had all the DARTs participating. I think we had 21 different aircraft going to 64 different airports all in one day. It's crazy, crazy busy. But one of our members kind of found points of contact at all these different airports. And so we had flights going there to meet these people, and they were emergency operations center people or members of other VOAs, so they could see, you know, what CalDART could do to help them do their mission, or how they could contribute. That's basically it. So that's our business model. It's free, you know, free service. There's some concept of prioritization, but, you know, presumably our EOS folks would give the priorities. If you don't have a local DART, guys say, oh no, we don't have a critical mass here, it's never going to happen. You can still join CalDART at the state level and, you know, be available to help out if called. If you do that, it's a good idea to participate in an exercise and kind of see how that works. And we do have all the paperwork. So we have, you know, a process for implementing a DART. I'm the statewide VP for administration, so I would be the person helping you do that. We have a disaster airlift response plan at the state level. You don't have to write your own, you just use the state level one. And of course, from a perspective of flying, you know, it's Part 91. It's all no charge, it's non-commercial. Of course, you need to have your own insurance, and we do check that. You would, as a DART, you would check that your pilots are certificated and insured. Certificated and experimental, or, you know, aircraft are allowed, and only normal flight ops. But we also need people, I mean, if you don't have access to an aircraft, also need people helping with logistics on the ground. So again, we don't do air ambulance or helicopter winch rescue. That's kind of specialized. Ask the guard or the CSP to do that. And of course, you know, it's all the PIC. You accept the mission or you don't. You know, it's your own personal minimum system capabilities and the capability of your aircraft. Like when we were flying supplies up to Oregon, every aircraft's a little different, you know, and a weight and balance perspective, I said, okay, I can only take so many pounds, right? So don't give me more than that. When we do an exercise, whether it's statewide or local, you know, usually you get everyone together to do a little safety briefing. So we have material for that as well. But anyways, some pictures here are some of the exercises we've done. This was the outreach we did last year. About 250 different people we met in 46 different counties. So it was a big operation. I was the one that actually scheduled all the flights. So, some of our darts have, you know, like I think this might be San Martin. They have a hangar. They keep some stuff in. We also have some folks that are members. Whether or not they're pilots, their focus is on communication. So we engage with our local ham radio communities to help with communications, because, you know, maybe the cell networks are down, and we'll have radio capability that way. So anyways, more pictures here. Again, this is one of the San Martin exercises they did. It's a big one. Apparently, this one going up to Carson City was scrubbed because of icing. But Santa Monica was another one that did an exercise where they sort of simulated. Okay, we have all these freeways and roads broken from an earthquake or something. So how are we going to get around that and get supplies? And so this is what did this on a sectional, right? Draw it out. Okay, this is how we're going to do it. Doesn't have to be super high tech. They were working with Red Cross on that one. Half Moon Bay did an exercise a few years ago. They're actually in a situation where they only have about 15 local pilots in their pilot association, and they're looking for more help. So we're working on getting them connected to the San Carlos Pilots Association, because there's a lot more people there. It's just a bit of help, so they can maybe do something jointly. But anyways, that's my spiel on CalDART. Any questions? Yes.
In a real disaster, they have like mission plans that the mission is to go from point A to point B, or
Yeah.
they like suggest routing and make sure the field's safe and all of that.
Right. Yeah, that would all be something that would have to do. So through my work in the Civil Air Patrol, I'm actually mission planner, ops section chief, and also incident commander. So we have some people who have that knowledge and experience to help with the CalDART. And if you do, anybody here has that kind of experience, that's helpful. But yes, you know, those are all things that we would take into account. No, we're not going to just say, okay, go fly. Yeah.
You guys have a fast break. Yeah, I guess that's really
Yeah, when we did the exercise last year with those 21 pilots and 65 airports, we had a briefing a few days before. I actually did safety briefing for that, and it was, you know, all of the normal things. I mean, some safety briefing stuff is, you know, you might think it's obvious, but not everyone thinks about it. So, had a whole package.
So they're just kind of directly.
Yeah. It's not unlike the Watsonville situation where we're just showing up and saying, "Here, I got some stuff. I'm going to take it over there." No, it's organized. So there would be a request, maybe through the state or even to the local DART organization for assistance, and then would work out what that would look like.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually participated in the annual exercise.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, as far as I know, I think I'm the only CalDART pilot on the Central Coast. So if this appeals to anybody, to be able to like fly supplies to somebody who's stranded, like there's a mudslide on Cuesta Pass, and it's, you know, traffic doubles on all the other roads around or something, and we're flying into San Luis or wherever, tsunami or something.
Yeah.
You know, I know I can carry 500 pounds in my Mooney with full fuel if it's just me. So I can carry 500 pounds of like water or whatever. And the great thing about CalDART, I'd say, is it's a very low commitment. You basically do an exercise every year or two, and maybe, or maybe 6 months, let's say. You fly somewhere, you'll hand this, you know, fake package to their OES manager or something from the city. And then they'd ask questions. Oh, so you fly supplies. Like, what do you like? How do you fly your plane? And it's just really fun to be able to talk to them.
Yeah. And as part of the exercise, you do have that opportunity to volunteer to say, hey, I'll take you out and show you around. I mean, we've done that as well. So that's kind of also gets them enthusiastic about, hey, airplanes can do stuff for us, and we don't really want to close that airport. We have that problem with some airports. So.
We had two slides that have partnership with other organizations that have 6 different 3-letter names, none of which are.
Oh, yeah. So let me see where that is. Yeah. So yeah, so CERT is Community Emergency Response Team. ARC, that's the radio guys, right? EM or RACES is also VOADs, talk about food banks. EM is emergency managers. That's all that. So the idea is through our exercises, we make these relationships so that in the event of a disaster, they can come and ask us for help moving stuff. We're not responsible for getting this stuff necessarily. We're just there to help them move it. Yeah. So, yes. Now, if you know, people who are good at getting stuff, it's, you know, we'll put them on our Rolodex, right? You know, or whatever the version of that is. Our contacts, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, we haven't branched out to do that because that's a whole nother can of worms. So we got planes, we got pilots, we got people to help out a little bit on the ground. We can do it safely, move stuff safely, stuff and people in the event of a disaster. Assuming, of course, you got an airport that you can get to, right? I mean, if there's no airport there, then that's where the helicopters come in. So then we have a whole process for that. Anybody have a helicopter? Oh, fixed wing here. That's good.
Trying to get them to show up.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need this as a student, can you hear it? Stuff. Is that feasible?
Most of our aircraft are not really set up for doing that, so yeah.
Creating video.
Mom, we need to don't do that too well.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when we do the exercises, I mean, the pilot can fly wherever they want. I mean, it's just, you know, you're the PIC, you have a mission to go to this airport. When we do an exercise, we're not really transporting, you know, heavy loads of stuff. It's maybe, you know, flyers on what we do or something like that. But
any last questions for CalDART? If not, you can always sign up, remember, on the sign up sheets, and we'll send you more info or put you in contact. And I'm interested in starting a CalDART. Because if you guys want to learn more about it.
oh, you're gonna start it. Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm happy to help coordinate. I need help. Okay, so you're going to stop sharing, and I'm going to start sharing. Okay. All right, so I'll make this quick. Excuse me. So thank you, Lise. That was great. So I'm Glenn Johnson, in Civil Air Patrol. I'm a second lieutenant. I'm also deputy commander of the squadron in San Luis Obispo. I'm a former transport mission pilot, which we'll get to in a second, what that is. What I won't be covering on Civil Air Patrol due to time is the history, details on all the great programs like cadets, education for aerospace, ground team direction finding, things like that.
One little history thing is, Civil Air Patrol was founded in 1941, before Pearl Harbor. Been around a long time, and it's been Military wasn't. It was.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So who is Civil Air Patrol? We are both a 501c3 charitable and an auxiliary of the Air Force. How are we unique? We have 56,000 members in the United States, 33,000 adults, 23,000 youth.
2000 in California.
4,000 in California. Okay, that's still a lot. We operate the world's largest fleet of single-engine aircraft. And so that includes over 500 powered aircraft, plus 47 gliders and 2 balloons.
Balloons, California. Balloons. One on
Oh, really?
Sunday.
Oh, cool. And then drones. Drones are getting really popular, as Louise knows. She's leading up a cadet program on that. Every year, by the numbers, we save over 100 lives in the United States. This is my interpretation. There's basically 2 categories of missions that Civil Air Patrol does and what we do. I kind of grouped them in emergency services, which is like there's an emergency we're reacting to. It's usually unplanned, like a call up, right? Like we have a paging system and we reply yes or no, we're available. Then there's planned things for the Air Force, like I'll show you in a second, and with some of our government partners. Both categories are good for building time and having fun on missions. On what we call emergency services, this is what, as pilots, you might know, Civil Air Patrol does, right? We do 90% of the search and rescue missions in the US. This new technology they're using now is cell phone forensics and radar analysis. I mean, in the old days, like a plane would go past due, right? It would be over half an hour past their flight plan closure and they didn't land or whatever. But now there's a whole team that has access to the cell phone companies, I guess. The back end, like the server or something, and they can go in and do this kind of analysis to find out like where the plane was last, essentially, right?
2 minutes. It's really fast.
Wow, that's crazy. So these are some of the disasters we respond to: wildfire, hurricane, earthquake, tornado, tsunami. These are different things we might do when we're flying. We might take aerial imaging, either with a person in the plane or with like a pod. We can transport people and supplies and dogs.
Yeah,
CARDA.
Yeah, CARDA, the Rescue Dog Association. We in fact, Saturday we have another training mission for them up at Truckies.
Oh wow, that's great. I guess they have to get used to the noise, right, of the plane.
Well, it's not so much the dog as the handler. The handler's all worried about the dog. The dog just goes to sleep. The handler's the one that's nervous.
We also do something called hybrid. We're just essentially a radio relay on like mountainous terrain. If there's a search for a hiker or a plane missing or something.
So the search in Monterey County for the missing hiker there, they didn't have line of sight communication, so we flew hybrid for them, and they bounced the communication through the plane.
Oh, that's great.
Back to their base. So
very cool.
Unfortunately, they found the missing hiker deceased, but
Deceased, yeah.
it happens.
This is the type of missions we could do with our auxiliary and partners, right? So we do joint readiness training for the military. So this is Operation Noble Eagle, where if you were flying for Civil Air Patrol and you were a mission pilot and you were in this plane, you'd be pretending you were violating TFR, and the Air Force would come and intercept you. And you
do this in California with the National Guard out of Fresno, once or twice a week. It's constant.
Very frequent.
And they say this is their most challenging training mission that they do, because the F-15s don't like to go that slow. So we fly like 90 to 100 knots on a path, and they come up along us and intercept us, talk to us on the radio, do their little thing. They come within 500 feet. It's exciting. We call it Felix Keynote here in California. But yeah, they have different. I think that's an East Coast.
Okay, gotcha. There's also something with remotely surrogated aircraft.
Yeah, so there was out of March Air Force Base, they fly the Reaper and up to Edwards Air Force Base for their training. And to go from Marches and Riverside to Edwards, they have to go through controlled airspace. And normally it's okay if the radar system's working, but when the radar was down, you would have to have a visual escort of the Reaper. And so we use a Turbo 206 because it's the fastest plane we got. And the Reaper would go as slow as they could. And we would keep visual contact with the Reaper when it's in that controlled airspace between restricted areas. We did that for several months earlier this year until they got the radar back online. But this is done all over the country. An example of, and then the CBP stuff, we do have a weekly mission along the southern border, reconnaissance basically, looking for illicit activity across the pass.
Okay, so getting into the pilot stuff, you can pilot things like gliders, balloons, drones. You can also be a scanner observer, right? Scanner sits in the back seat of the Cessna and just his eyeballs looking for the target, the down aircraft. The observer sits in the front seat, right on the right seat, does the radios and helps the pilot. Those are things even, kids can do and whatnot. As far as
You
pilot,
have to be 18 to be aircrew.
18 to be aircraft, okay. Transport mission pilot is the initial level that you can actually fly a CAP plane, and mission pilot is when you're actually allowed to go on missions, right? Like call-ups.
You need 100 hours PIC. And I think it's 50 hours cross country somewhere.
Yeah, 50 hours cross country for both, 100 hours pick for transport, 200 for mission. Usually it takes about a year to 2 of training to get to become a transport mission pilot if you're brand new to CAP, my experience, and you have to have a uniform such as this.
That's about it. O-rides, you don't have to be a mission pilot to give O-rides, but you do need the 200 hours.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you can do O-rides as a 4-5 pilot basically.
Great. I'm learning stuff. You can also rent the CAP aircraft.
In the CAP right now.
Yeah. And so for you newer pilots that might be here, like the 100 hours of pick, I think you cannot include up to your solo because you weren't pick. But after your solo, you can count those hours towards your.
So interesting thing is, like the squadron that I came from in Palo Alto, we got a member, I think he was 50. Anyways, he wanted to learn to fly, and so we started flying on his own, and we gave him a ton of moral support. We couldn't use the TMP, and he's just about got his 200 hours in the mission pilot. And so once he became a TMP, you can use the CAP aircraft with the CAP instructor to do any other advanced training. So you rent the CAP plane, and a 182 rents for this year was $88 an hour, right? So cheap. And the CAP instructors do not charge for the time. The instruction is free. You can buy someone who's they have to be available. But that's a great benefit. I know one of our members, the commander at once he got his private, he did everything. He did instrument, commercial, and CFI. He's into CFI now.
Great. Here's the map of the squadrons. We're this group in the box on the Central Coast. So 5 squadrons from Simi Valley and Camarillo up to Slow. The closest aircraft is kept in Santa Maria, so about a 1-hour drive.
It's one of Watsonville.
Oh, okay. That's probably a little further, yeah. Okay. Tons of squadrons in the LA and the Bay Area. I mean, as you saw by the numbers earlier.
There's 70-something squadrons in California, and we have 25 aircraft now.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
27, well, maybe not counting the fighters.
So this is my summary for pilots. There's lots of really cool things to do in Civil Air Patrol. I liked it because of currency, because they require annual flight reviews instead of biennials. That really kept me current. There's funded flights, right? So some training is funded and missions are funded. Affordable rentals. This is from our group commander, says it's $70 an hour.
182 is a little bit more.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. This is the plane in Santa Maria, the 2024 Cessna 172S with the
Just
G1000
from the back
and
right
XF.
now. It's a beautiful plane.
So good rental rate.
Yeah, I got
For
to fly
that.
at Camp Roberts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so every year, the cadets have a camp, it's kind of like the basic training that we like. We do orientation flights for them. And so they'll bring in National Guard helicopter and sometimes a C-130, but we also bring as many camp airplanes. And Camp Roberts has a landing strip, so we just landed there, and for 2 days we were flying cadets.
Super. I'd say one of the main downsides to Civil Air Patrol is it's, you know, part of the Air Force essentially, so it's bureaucratic, and it requires kind of persistence and patience. But if you're willing to do that, you know, there's some benefits.
And honestly, you know, it's safe flying. People really care about safety. I think our experience has been the accident rate is about half GA.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
more or less. There's one today. So.
Let's see, another note is we're trying to restart the Paso Squadron, or I am, I guess. So if you wanted to join Civil Air Patrol, you would basically have to attend meetings every month or two, right? So that's one evening on a weekday every month or two. It'll probably be at Estrella Warbirds. Right now we're in a meeting in San Luis. And then spend roughly at least 2 weeks a year training. Get to kind of give away some weekends, right? Those are the benefits. So any questions about Civil Air Patrol as a pilot?
I'm happy to talk about it too. I mean,
It's fun to
I
talk about.
joined in 2016 and I was still working. Before I retired, I was spending about 700 to 800 hours a year on Civil Air Patrol.
Wow, that's a lot.
Not all flying, obviously. My flying hours are, you know, on the 60 to 80 hours a year of Civil Air Patrol. No, it's a separate appropriation to Congress and it's managed by the Air Force. For the Air Force mission stuff. And then the nonprofit, so they do have you know, fundraising that they do. It's at the national level. Then members pay dues, and the dues right now in California, I think it's $83 a year, something like that.
Any other questions on Civil Air Patrol? Okay. Let me know if you guys are interested or sign the paper over there. The last topic, so that completes my topic on the Civil Air Patrol. The last topic today here is this announcement. Basically, I want to do that we're resurrecting the Paso Robles Airport Association or the Pilots Association. It's going to be a nonprofit. We're going to host about 3 events a year. The goal is to socialize, educate, kind of coalesce the pilot needs and wants, field, the whole approach, since I'm the one kind of pushing for this, is to have minimal time investment for the volunteers, less than 1 hour a month. So we're seeking volunteers for the board of the Paso Robles Pilots Association. So I'd like to get a cross section, so we're all really like bought into this association, right? It's not just a niche little cliquey group. So if you're a positive person, if you have any ideas for the airport, if you're either a new pilot or a senior pilot, if you're a rotorcraft pilot, we want you basically. We need your viewpoint in the Pilots Association. We're also looking for a corporate sponsor if anybody has a business that wants to chip in a few dollars every year. We have a prototype website, kprbpilots.org, that's live now. The contact person is me. So that's it. You guys have any questions about that, Pilots Association, or anything else you heard this evening? Oh, the airport commission? No, totally separate. But I will tell you that 10 years ago, we did have a pilots association here, and the board members of that became very involved in some of those political things in the city, and they became airport commissioners. So at least half of your airport commissioners today that have those every month or 2 meetings up here came from the Pilots Association. So I don't know that we need more representation on the airport commission, but seems like there's a few of us who want to do some good things at the airport, and it doesn't seem like it would take a lot of effort. Like tonight is an example. Okay, any last questions? If not, then pull you guys out of here. Okay, thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate it.
We're signed up on your.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, make your,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.